Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner. We're cruising for a bruising. I'm alongside,
with the serve here.
and here he is right now, Tuff Daddy. Tuff Daddy, how is it going?
All right, how are you?
We are doing great here at the VSW Cruising for a Bruising tour. Very excited for this stop
And
with
welcome
you.
aboard.
Yes, I'm very excited myself. It's the first wrestling interview I've done actually in quite a long time.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't done one since the last time I wrestled, and because I returned back to wrestling in 2019.
Oh,
And my last time wrestling before that was I want to say it was 2006, 2007. I think it was more like 2007.
Wow.
Wow.
So there was a huge
Quite a gap in between.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of guys that took a break around the same time. That's now in RW.
That's cool, though. That makes
all of us took a break because we all had different reasons for leaving the ACW. So, I mean, I don't want to talk about their reasons because then, I might say something wrong, but, I definitely had my personal reasons like they did for leaving.
Well, yeah, but it seems also reunion wrestling really is a reunion of some older talent now coming back.
Yeah, that's what we all liked about it, is that, it's old, it's new, it's current.
And it's a bunch of you guys just getting together and having a good time. That's all that matters.
Oh, yeah. Because back in the day, the original ACW crew was Monster Mac, trainee number one, was Mac Attack, Havoc, myself, Ray Ranson, Scott Levesque, what do you call it there, Zach Justice.
You got true New England originals there.
Even Chris Cruz, who was in the first few of the RW shows. Brian Sire, who was actually in the first one at the Chop Shop back in 2019.
Yep.
All of us are like original ACW, and there's actually some other guys out there that wrestle for other promotions that are just as big names as Scott Levesque's become, that, used to be part of ACW.
Yeah, and then man, I see you got some new people over there too, like Mike and
AJ
Jason,
Phoenix.
AJP. So you got some newer people that weren't around, much back then.
I mean, AJP, a very talented guy, a very talented kid.
He is. He really is. So so let me ask you this. You said your last interview before that was probably in 07 sometime. When did you jump into the business? When did you start wrestling?
We're not like recording right now, are we?
No.
Oh, all right. When did I start? I was actually, believe it or not, when I first started, I know back when I did it in Massachusetts, you could be about 15 years old with a parent's signature, but I was actually like 14 at the time, and it was for a company called PTW, Primetime Wrestling, which later became ACW. It was by the same guy, Dave Oliveira.
Yep.
They gave me some training, but let's just say after when I met this guy that my sister had dated on and off since high school, his name was Rob Roberts. He's another pretty good name, and actually he's still wrestling himself. He wrestles, I believe it's for SPW now.
Oh, wow.
Showcase Pro Wrestling. But Rob Roberts originally wrestled for the original Top Rope, which was Yankee Pro and South Coast.
Okay.
And when he found out I was wrestling, and he found out who I was wrestling for, he actually got permission because he was doing his own classes down at Val's Gym in Fall River. And he was training some people, and he asked my mother about training me and had her obviously sign the paper because I was underage. I was 15 by this time, and that's when I actually started professionally getting my training, was at 15 years old. And then later I eventually went back to wrestling for Dave Oliveira when he got a place down at the Durfee Mill in Fall River. It was building 11, 4th floor, and he was putting on shows every Saturday.
See,
and by that time, I was already trained by Rob Roberts.
So you were already in there. See, I mean, I know things have changed now. You got to be I think it's 18. I think some places will allow 17, but for the most part, It's
Yeah, it's
18.
like 18, 21 for some
You know,
states.
but what I mean, I started with an amateur boxing career, and I was able to amateur box at 15, 16.
Mm.
I don't understand why wrestlers can't train at a younger age. This way, so by the time that they're 18 and 19, they're actually ready to work. They don't have to spend another 3 years or 4 years breaking into the business and losing prime years.
Well, it was tough, especially after I got my training. I started doing what they used to call dock matches, which I know when they did them, like say if it was WWF or the WCW that did them, they were basically a match before the actual taping.
Yep.
But when it came to the indie leagues, it was actually kind of the same thing. It was like a match before the actual show, and it was just so when, say, people walking by, driving by, they see a sign that says wrestling show, they want to stop and they see something going on. They think, oh, the show's already started, and it was just meant to fill the rest of the seats.
Yep, get more people off the seat.
Yeah,
see
but
something.
they don't do dock matches anymore, not even in the indie leagues.
No,
And
now
not
they got complete shows about them on TV.
Yeah, and some of the indie leagues don't even do hardcore anymore. Some still do, some don't.
It's very, very rare. I've only seen a few handful of promotions. If they do, it's just 1 or 2 matches. I mean, I know the most notable
Yeah, and you
is
can't
Beyond.
do it anymore either.
I mean,
Or if you do, you got to prove a negative HIV and hepatitis, which I mean that I don't blame them.
yeah, I mean that would be with anything. I mean, Massachusetts is still luckily there's no athletic governing body to govern professional wrestling. As long as certain guidelines are met, you pretty much can run a promotion.
And hopefully it stays that way, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
But I do know in Massachusetts, the last I know, is that if you have training in any kind of fighting, you're supposed to fill out one of those papers basically saying that you're basically like a weapon.
That is true. If you're like professional amateur boxing, I had to fill out something because your hands can become a deadly weapon at that point, and it does change things in the case of like a street fight or something. Believe it or not, you are right there.
Because I had to do it when I first started wrestling.
Yep. Because you learn all sorts of submission holds that could snap a man's neck, break limbs. That's considered a deadly weapon.
Oh yeah, but yet again, people like to say wrestling's fake, and it's not.
No, people.
Definitely.
The bumps are real. The fighting's real. Okay, we might not really hate each other, but it's still fun to beat the shit out of your family member or best friend.
Exactly. How many brothers fight? How many cousins fight when they're young? It's fun.
And how many best friends fight, and yet they still remain best friends, not even enemies.
Exactly.
They end up having more respect for each other.
It's very true though. It happens all the time. People don't think of it that way. And wrestling is real. The injuries are there. People get injured. People get hurt.
Speaking of respect, Tough Daddy, since we're now on the air, the first question I have for you is, who is your wrestling influence?
My wrestling influence, believe it or not, Mick Foley. He would be the one that inspired me to really want to become a wrestler. And what inspired me even more to become one was when I first saw ECW on later what became Spike TV. At the time, it was TNN TV.
Okay. Yeah.
I just loved the fact when I would watch it, how it looked like guys, like any of us, just walking on from off the street or coming in from the bar or something and just ready to brawl and knock some heads off.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go down to Philadelphia, when it was airing down there, and I tell you, sometimes it was people just walking off the streets coming in, just fighting each other. It was some wild times, but it was also one of the promotions that got me outside of what I call sports entertainment wrestling and into actual wrestling. WWEF, whatever you want to call it, it's always been a showmanship. It's always been a show.
There were some guys from there that, I guess you could say inspired me that I looked up to. who later also went into like WCW, like say Roddy Piper. I mean, even a lot of guys still today who talk about him in interviews say that he was an amateur boxer before he went into wrestling, and that he really was a real fighter.
Oh
And
yeah,
if
he
you
was.
watch
He
some
did.
of his matches, you could tell he was a brawler.
He was, and his WrestleMania 2 match, he actually fought Mr. T in a boxing match, and I guess they really sparred. It was a real sparring contest.
I've
So I've
seen
been
some
told.
interviews about Mr. T about that, and he said that they didn't hold back.
Yeah, they actually went at it, and Piper wanted it that way too. And WWE in the '80s, when I started watching, it was '84, '85, WrestleMania 2. I would say, wrestling was a very different time period. As the '90s came, it changed the scene, and then it changed again in the late '90s, and it became,
That's when
the
I started watching late
the Attitude
90s.
Era came, and you had a lot more adult orientated wrestling going on. But with that being said, the 70s and 80s was just as brutal as then. People don't realize that. They had death matches back then. They had these cowbell matches.
And probably less licensing, too.
There was no licensing. They had blades. They had knives. They had, the locker rooms were rough. There was no laws. It was different. In 70s and 80s, wrestling was really crazy. I think that's what really got me into it. And then, like I said, ECW, when that came out, that was just something totally different because it was, like you said, average people, some of them. You had names, but then you had average people, and you had people breaking into the business for the first time, like Stone Cold Austin.
And believe it or not, as cheesy as it sounds, I was actually inspired a little by Andy Kaufman and his feud with Jerry Lawler.
Yep.
I mean, that's just classic.
That's classic wrestling right there. I was actually talking to another wrestler about that the other day, and that was just a great overall spot that was done. And I think it blended the realism for the fans, and plus it brought in celebrities that wrestling's always done that. It's brought in celebrities to bring in fans into wrestling, and I think it did that then. And Jerry Lawler it still is a great wrestler. He's very good on the mic. Unfortunately, I think a lot of his promos aren't allowed today that he did back in the day. The times have changed, but in the 80s, 90s, he was amazing on the mic.
Oh, yeah, and even he said, too, what was it, that Andy Kaufman really was a wrestler, that's what he always wanted to be, was an entertainer.
Yep. And like I said, that was a good time. And that was, I want to say that was what, mid 90s, a little bit when Raw first started coming on.
And it was War Versace.
Oh, it sure was. So let me ask you this: right now, you just working with Reunion Wrestling?
Yes, for right now.
Do you have plans to go elsewhere as you make comeback, or just kind of chilling where you're at?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely say that, Mac Attack's Reunion Wrestling will always be home, and that's what I would say is definitely my main company. But if I ever got a chance, as long as it doesn't clash with doing a show for RW, I'll definitely, go and do another show for another company. As long as, it's not for the same time at slot as their show.
Yeah. No, no conflict. So yeah. And Magatech runs a great show. I am a big fan of Reunion Wrestling. I've talked to a few of the guys on their show. Talked to Ray Ranson before. He was on our show early on when we did our podcast. Great guy.
Yeah, if you want to say that, right now I'm kind of feuding with the guy in RW with the Bitter Club, and but that's just
it's
because
not too good with the Bitter Club. I don't really. I'll tell you something that differs on my podcast than most people's podcasts. I don't really like the down wrestlers. Even though you guys have your feuds, I still give everybody their respect unless they disrespect me personally. Ray never disrespected me, but I can see what he's done with you and with that club, and
And make your life a living.
Yeah, they're always coming out and trying to just really beat me. And if you don't mind me saying, I can actually go into the story now this happened. If you watch the first Reunion Wrestling show, RW1. Yesterday was is history. Tomorrow's a mystery.
Yep, I actually have it right in front of me.
Yeah. Well, anyways, if you watch it, I did a match with Monster Matt. We shook hands because we feuded for a long time. Now we're best buddies. We're awesome buddies. And it pretty much ended our long history feud because people wondered for years if we were friends or feuding. So,
Yep.
I mean, basically, hey, look, it showed we shook hands. He raised my hand up. Long story short, Scott Levesque comes out at the end for the Battle Royal. He does his little promo, doing like he always does, talking about how, unlike everybody else in the back, he's number one. He's bragging about, how he wrestled all these WWE stars and everything. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's good. But, you don't have to constantly brag about it.
Nah, it shouldn't be not that much ego.
He wins the Rumble. He asks for the belt. And then he turns around. You can watch it. It's right there. It's episode 5 on Reunion 1. Grabs the barrel, brings it in the ring, and throws the title out. And says it's a piece of garbage, just like all of you. And he was pointing to the fans. I'm sorry, but that belt represents not just RW, but it represents the fans.
Yeah, and that's total disrespect.
So, I mean, that's a slap in the face right there.
Yep.
And anyways, trainee number 1 comes out. You'll see the place went wild. And he turned around and told him, why don't he put the title on the line? Then I come out. I give him a stunner. He kind of straddles around, falls. I pin him 1, 2, 3 and get the belt. And then ever since then, even though he threw the belt out, he's trying to kick my ass to get the belt back.
If he didn't want it the first time, he shouldn't have thrown it away. He should have put some respect on it,
And then, Reunion 2, we have our fight. I beat him. And then that's when the Bitter Club comes out. Ray Ranchin. And then Peter Crave turns around and I don't know if he's a ref now only or if he's a ref/wrestler like he was back in the day. But anyways, Peter Crave takes off his ref shirt. He has a Bitter Club thing. And they turn around and start beating me. And then Mac Attack comes out, attacks them. I still beat him, pinned him. Still became the champion. Reunion 3 comes. He's talking about retiring and how I'm the better man. Shakes my hand again like he did in episode 6 of Reunion Wrestling 2. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, no worries at all. We're a pet-friendly podcast here.
They gotta know the Versace sooner, those pets.
Oh, of course.
Sorry about that, but anyways, like I was saying, getting back to what I was saying, you have Eric Dillon, who comes out from the crowd into the ring and, gives me a big push spear kind of thing. And then we have our fight. I'll give Eric Dillon this much, which is one of his other ballerinas there, as I like to call him. He gave me a pretty good ass whooping. If you watch it, I got my ass kicked pretty good around the thing.
Yep.
But I still beat him.
Still won the match.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you got Reunion 4 that's coming out. It's supposed to air on Monday.
I saw that on my Twitter feed before.
To say, I will be facing Ray Ranchin in Reunion 4. That'll be airing on Monday. Which episode? I'm not really sure. If people, as long as they follow Reunion Wrestling on Facebook and YouTube, they'll come across when, Ray Ranchin and I's match will be airing, but
we'll be on a lookout for that. We are very excited for that. Like I said, we are big Reunion Wrestling fans. Season 3 was excellent, and we've been waiting for Season 4 to be aired. We saw a little teaser, but that's about it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have I really don't care for the Bitter Club right now, and I know Mac Attack doesn't either.
No, they probably don't.
Because it's kind of like the three of us are feuding with them. They're trying to always kick my ass. I don't know if they're trying to see how tough I am, but I'll admit I can take a good ass whooping, but I can also give one too. As
Definitely
you see.
can, Tough Daddy. You're tough as nails.
You really are, and that's what I was gonna say. You fight a different style than just normal wrestlers. You fight hardcore. You bring weapons involved. And that's a different style of wrestling, and it takes a different mentality to do hardcore wrestling.
Yeah, unless you ask guys like Jim Cornette and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean,
We're not like Jim Cornette here at the VSW or shout out, I assume.
no, 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 I'm not really a fan of Cornette. I mean, the only thing I can say good about Cornette is that he honestly was a pretty decent manager with Yokozuna, and he did okay with the Heavenly Bodies, but that's about it, really.
I mean, still today, a lot of people like to shit on guys that are willing to do hardcore or are known for doing hardcore because they think, oh, anybody can do it. I mean, yeah, okay, anybody can get whacked over the head or whack someone over the head with a steel chair or a VCR or whatever or land on thumbtacks, but it really takes someone with a high tolerance of pain to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to get hit, but it's another thing to get hit, get up, and continue the match, and continue the battle, and probably get hit maybe 10 to 15 more times. I mean, I know regulations have changed throughout the years. They're no longer allowing. They don't like to allow the direct headshots that were allowed early on in the '90s. But you know, one of your legends, the people that you looked up to in this industry, Mick Foley. You can listen to him. He took a pounding in hardcore matches.
And believe it or not, the guy that trained me, Rob Roberts, which you can still find some of his matches out there today on Facebook and YouTube. And actually, I think there's even some that might be still on the Top Rope page. Not 100%, but and I'm just saying that because I've been told that there is. But anyways, Rob Roberts back in the day was known for doing hardcore.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, he was known for doing hardcore for the longest. He doesn't really do it too much anymore. On occasion, a lot of it, like he says, it's because of age and it's just getting to him. But even still, even not doing the hardcore, he's still an excellent wrestler.
Yeah, he is. Like, that's the thing with the hardcore. I think, it's not for everybody, and it might not be for everybody every time. Like you said, it takes a certain threshold, and it also takes that certain mentality. And it is more than just beating each other to death with weapons. I mean, there's a lot more involved. You still got to wrestle. You still got to win a match.
Oh yeah.
It's just an added. I don't have to worry about the referee getting in my face.
No, but there are some referees willing to take some chair shots, and I give those referees thumbs up.
Yeah. It's always good to see, and there is definitely some good refs out there. We got a good crowd in New England. I feel like we have a good pool of talent just overall between refs, ring announcers, commentators, just everything. We have it all at our fingertips here in New England.
Oh yeah, and what's amazing is just the talent from Mac Attack. They not only promote and put on the shows of RW, but they also put the shows together on the internet. They do the commentary. I mean, that right there takes a lot of talent, too.
It definitely does, and I'm a back-end guy, I'm going to take this Cruisin for a Bruisin, I'm going to take the interviews, I'm going to put them to videos, I'm going to, put up links in social and make it all look pretty and make it into a show.
Just like Derek Simonetti's doing with Prove It Ground.
Yep, and he does it with that, and, all the promoters do it, and, it takes a lot of work, time, patience and just overall desire to want to create to get it all done. And I give kudos to anybody that's creative that comes up and makes, any kind of content. Whether it be wrestling related or not, it takes work. And I've watched, Mac Attack's, videos. Like I said, I'm sitting here looking at 1 and 2 right now on DVD. And, they're very well produced. They're very well put together. The soundtracks are nice. Everything is nice. It flows great. The commentary works. That's all, like you said, after production. That's great.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just like Paul Heyman and a lot of the guys in the ECW days, like they said, they wore many hats. They not only put the shows together, but they were like security. They were also editors, everything.
You have to take on many roles sometimes, especially nowadays. If you want things done right sometimes, I always say you got to do it yourself, especially if you want it done the way you want it done. So you might have to do 3 or 4 different roles, and if you have the heart to do it, that's what's gonna make you stand out in the crowd and make you more successful than the next guy. Let's say. That's what it comes down to is your desire and willingness to thrive, and regardless of whatever industry it is, it could be wrestling, it could be regular work, it could be whatever it is.
But it's definitely tough to get in the wrestling business. I'll definitely say that it's definitely tough. It's not easy, and it's definitely not for everybody.
No, it's not easy. People think it is. It's not. Not only do you have to train, you got to actually
You
be.
gotta sell.
You got to be booked first of all. Someone's got to want you.
Oh yeah, and a lot of times it's not so much whether you're good or not; it's just whether if they want to use you.
Yeah, do you fit their needs? Do you fit?
Not just that, but just after just one day of training, you're gonna be sore. You're gonna be stiff for a few days, and if you got a trainer that's nice and might give you a day off, trust me, by this maybe not the next day, but the day after that you go back, you're probably still gonna be sore, but you just gotta push yourself, and you might even come to the limit where you're gonna puke and stuff. Hey, you know what? If that happens, drink some water, drink some Gatorade, get some electrolytes back in you. Make sure you got some protein, get some energy. Go right back in that ring and do it again.
That is great health advice.
All that punishment is definitely worth it. I would definitely say that punishment is worth it, and I don't regret that punishment that I went through at all.
It really is. Me, like I said, coming from the boxing world, we had similar training sessions. I would go to the gym. We would have these 3-hour sessions. I saw the people throwing up next to me, after the 500th push-up or the 600th crunch, and people just can't take it and they break. And yeah, you do. You just got to, break through all that, because at the end of it, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be stronger, faster, and you know what? Mentally, you're going to be much more clear-headed and minded in what you do in life if you can get through all of that and just put it all aside.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I did my training like 20 years ago, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday.
But even like that, you still must go to the gym now. You still must freshen up. You still must put in some work.
I exercise every day. I do cardio, push-ups, sit-ups, and crunches and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something you can say, well, I trained, 30 years ago and I haven't moved since then. You got to actually stay active if you want to stay actively wrestling.
Especially if you want to move up that card.
Well, yeah, that too. I know. And I think that's everybody's goal, is to move up the card at some point. You get to the top, get all the fans. But here, like I said, here at VSW, we do things a little different. I look at wrestling like this. Everybody is really pretty awesome at what they do, especially in whether it's reunion wrestling or wherever we go, wherever our stops take us. We got a lot of amazing talent. My issue is not enough people are seeing them. Not enough people are getting to go to these shows. Not enough people have access to these shows. People in California aren't able to watch them. People out of the States aren't able to watch them.
My long-term goal is running the Beantown Sports Wolfcast for all 4 Boston sports teams. I know a lot of them are Laughs fans. I'm trying to get it so that someone could watch their nearest promotion, support them like they support their small business.
Exactly. I want more eyes and ears on the indie wrestlers, so people can become fans of these guys that we are.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely agree. I mean, I can definitely name some names that I looked up to back in the day from the indie scene that was just in Fall River down at the PAL. I've always been more of a fan of the indie than I was of TV. And as you already know, as I've said it before, the only fan really I was more of was ECW.
Yeah, because it was like I said, that was like the working man's wrestling. You could see guys that, some of them weren't even in shape. But, it was like I said, it was a wild time down back then when it opened. I heard they might be doing a reunion show. Not really sure. Hope they do.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. But
let the bodies hit the floor.
That would be great. Like I said, it's something different. Now I think the wrestling world's starting to open up. The pandemic is starting to end a little bit. which is allowing the world to start to open up back again. People are starting to put on shows again. I'm sure after the season's done, eventually Mac Attack will go to live crowds again.
Oh yeah, I know that's definitely one point that they want, and a lot of the guys that are part of the RW roster, that's one thing that we all want is to, wrestle in front of the live audience again.
Yeah, I mean, you guys
When
get
I
a lot
say
of
all
the
of
power.
us, I'm talking about, the guys that I talk to that are all baby faces like myself.
Yeah. And
the heels, no, because baby faces and heels, as you already know, we don't really talk to each other.
Nah, you can't.
They stay to their side, we stay to our side, and that's it.
That's it. That's how it has to be done. The line has to be drawn somewhere. But we definitely look forward to your match with Ray Ranson. And I'm going to give it over now because, as you know, this is also not just, a show that we're putting on. We're actually having a little fun competition for all of the participants. So I'm going to give it over to Disabled Wolf here.
All right. Thank you, Versace. Tuff Daddy, I need you to bear with me for a second while I ask you this serious, well-thought question.
All right. No problem.
Out of all the wrestlers booked on the Cruisin for Bruisin card, why should you be the inaugural Cruisin for Bruisin champion and win the cash prize? Out of all the wrestlers, why do you stand out?
Why do I stand out? That's actually a really good question. I would say because, just like my name says, tough. I am tough, and I'm one tough daddy. I can go out there and I can take more pain than the normal average wrestler. If I had to give my pain on a scale, I would say I really don't know. Definitely, I can definitely take pain, as you already know and you've said yourself. But I'm definitely one tough cruising for a bruising person. I cruise for a bruising all the time. That's why I do the hardcore stuff.
And I can dig that. Thank you very much for coming on our show, Tuff Daddy. We'll be looking out for you. And like I said, this show will be airing live on the 24th. And about a week after that, the competition will begin.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You also.
Wow, what a great stop that was, Disabled. He is tough as nails.
A very good memory for someone who's been through the hardcore stipulations, per se.
Yep, and talking about one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Mick Foley. I gotta love him. He was one of my hardcore legends growing up. Cactus Jack, WCW, ECW, and all the greatness. Even his run in WWE as Mankind and the Hell in the Cell matches, all that
and
great
how is he
memories.
Still alive from that? I ask myself that question at least a few times a day.
And I can see now if he looked up to people like that, this is why Tuff Daddy is so tough. But what a great interview. And you know what? I hope he wins. He has a good chance. I really do think so. Seems like he has a good fan base.
But let's get to a rest stop and go over our other participants and give them a chance.
We will. Yes, we've been on the road for a little bit, and I do need to take a break. We'll be back with you guys shortly, though. Have a great one, folks.
As the great Mick Foley would say, have a nice day.